everyone, it's Miss Kelly from the Wakanda Library here. Today I am going to give you some directions for your Art to Go project. So when you pick up your supply bag, you're going to have a canvas, a llama that I've already cut out for you, some streamers, and a few crayons. From home, you're going to need some scissors, some glue, paper towel for cleanup, a hair dryer, and I have an art mat here to help keep the table clean, but if not, you could use some either paper towel or maybe some newspaper underneath just to keep things neat. So you're gonna start with your crayons. I'm gonna move this a little closer to me here. You're gonna take your crayons and you can color any kind of pattern you want. And when you color with the crayons on the canvas, push pretty hard. You wanna get a lot of crayon on there. I'm gonna do a kind of angled pattern here. You can make it any, see what I mean, how little pieces are already crumbling off. You can make any kind of pattern you want. If you want to color the whole thing one color, that's fine. If you want to make polka dots, that's fine. I'm just going to do a couple of colors so I can show you the next step so you can see what to do. If you can see, I'm pushing really hard. I'm not so worried about being neat. I'm just pushing really hard to get a lot of crayon on there. The canvas is kind of hard, so you're going to push really hard and get a lot on there and go all the way to the edges. Okay, and then, whoops, a little orange maybe. The crayons and the streamers will be random colors that you find in your bag, so you can make it any kind of combination if you want. If you want to add more colors from crayons that you already have at home, you can do that too. It's a great thing to use kind of old crayons for because you're just coloring really hard. Okay. All right, so when you get your whole canvas colored, we're gonna move on to the next step, but I'm just gonna show you this little bit here now. So you're gonna bring it over, make sure you put it on your mat. And this is when you can have a grown-up help you. You're gonna take your hair dryer, it's gonna get pretty hot. I'm just gonna turn this on for a second because it's kind of loud. And you're gonna hold it right above your crayon and watch and see what happens. Okay, so you can see crayon is made mostly of some wax. So when you put the heat on it, it starts to soften and melt. Now I just did it for a really short time and you can already see that it's getting really soft and you can kind of start blending the colors together. The longer you have it on there, the more it's gonna melt. If you put your finger on it right away, it's pretty warm. So you can do a little bit at a time until you get melted as much as you want. This is what the paper towel is for, good for cleanup. Okay, after you hold the heat on it for a while from the hair dryer, you can end up with something like this. So it's pretty fun. It takes a little while, but it comes out really neat. It almost looks like watercolors when you're done. So once you finish blending your whole canvas like that, you're gonna move on to your llama. So got our streamers here and our llama cut out. Again, you could do it in any kind of pattern that you want. You're gonna take your streamer and fold it in half. All the way along. All right. And then you're gonna start down at his feet at the bottom of the hooves here. You're gonna measure about how wide that is. It's about that, like that. I'll do one for this side too. And you take your glue stick. So when you glue it down so the flap opens up this way, do the next one. And again, if you want to do a pattern, you can do a pattern, or if you just want to do it all the same colors, it's up to you. It's going to be, like I said about the crayons, the same with the tissue paper. You're just going to get a bunch of random colors in there so you can make up your own way to do it. Okay. See, I'm overlapping them a little bit, so you still can't see any of the white through there. You just lay it a little bit, so it's going to be next on the top one. So as you're going up his leg, it's getting a little bit wider, so you're going to cut it a little bit wider. It can hang, it's okay for it to hang over the edges like that. I'm going to put a strip of glue, and remember, so it opens up like this way. Just keep making sure you're overlapping them a little bit on each one. I'm really liking the way that the green is looking, so I think I'm going to keep going with the green. Another one. We got even wider on this leg. Just keep going. Again, just keep overlapping it. Stop and measure. Try and keep them about the same height on each one. Just stop and measure about the width of the leg. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just gonna cover it because we're gonna trim off any of that extra. Now that we're at the length of the whole body, we can go all the way across it. I think I'll switch to some blue. Same thing, fold it in half. You'll find that this tissue paper is pretty stretchy too. So if you kind of go like that, it even stretches a little further. So now I'm gonna measure the length of his whole body. Let's snip that off here. Same thing, a little glue all the way across. Layer it over the last color. I'll show you one more stripe before we move on to the next step. All the way across. Okay, and then lay that on. So I know it looks like it's not going to be the shape of a llama anymore. But what you're going to do after you get it all the way covered, you're going to flip them over so you can easily see where to trim off all the extras. So you just use your scissors, trim off all this extra part. All right. So keep going until you cover your whole llama with tissue paper, and then you turn them over and just trim off this extra, and then you get the nicer shape of the llama here. It's a lot easier to just turn it over this way. You have a good guide. Trim around down here. Once you get them covered and trimmed down, you're gonna go back on the front and you're gonna lift up these little pieces and put some fun little cuts like this all the way down. You don't all have to be the same size. Just gives it, makes it curl a little bit. So you go down to the next color, lift it up, give some snips. And the green. Okay. We'll keep working on him. I have one that I already did all the way down. There he is. Okay. Right, once you get your whole llama covered and trimmed, then you'll turn him over. Some glue on him. And glue them right on top of your crayon. You make sure it's nice and dry now. Should have cooled. Once it cools, it'll harden back up again. It won't be smeary anymore. My crayon is completely dry. And then you can kind of come back and rough him up. And he's all done. I hope you guys have fun. Send me some pictures if you can. I'd love to see how your artwork comes out. And keep an eye out for next month's Art to Go project. See you soon.